So, welcome back to LightWave Guru. Hey René, show us a setup. So that's really a simple hack and a simple setup in LightWave Bullet, and you can with that setup show tires under pressure. Yeah, and you see that active collision margin, that yellow thing here, and with that parameter you can define the pressure from the air. So that's a visual hack. Yeah, that's not the physical reality, that's a hack. And that means if I use the collision margin in Bullet in that way here and bring it in that position here and make here reset and let's simulate it, you see it's in real time, then the tire from that wheel have no pressure. So it run and all is cool and have no pressure, yeah. But if I need it, for example, so I need pressure on the tires, then I say, okay, let us use another collision margin. And if I use now that collision margin, the tire would go in contact with the two motors. Let us call it motors. It's a simple kinematic object. You can see it here, yeah. And the two kinematic objects are animated from hand, yeah. So that he rotate, starts to rotate and stops to rotate. And if that two motors start, then the collision detection from the rim here would be with a cylinder as shape. Have contact with the two motors or with the other two cylinders, or in that case here it is not a cylinder, I use a capsule, but the same, it's a primitive from Bullet, so that you have a quick simulation, yeah, to simulate pressure in the air pressure for the tires. One thing that's not so cool in Bullet, and I want to have it in the next version from LightWave, that you can animate the collision margin. So if I can, in the moment here that's not possible, yeah. So if you have a collision margin, then you can animate them, and so you can show over the time the pressure in the tire, yeah. So that's what I can do here in real time to define the collision margin. I cannot animate. That's not cool. I hate it. And the simple reason is that often the nicest parameters for hacks you cannot animate. Yeah, I have take a look and transform. You can also not animate it, and that means if I cannot animate the transform parameter or the collision margin parameter, I cannot show on the fly with that kind of principle a change in the air pressure from a tire. Yeah, so if the one or another LightWave coder have a little bit time, so if I cannot animate it here in real time, I think it's also possible to give me a graph editor to animate it with a graph editor. Then I can change over the time here the size and can so animate easily the air pressure. And I think that's a really cool effect. So if the complete car stand on that cylinders here, yeah, so you have here the wheel master. Under the wheel master you have your rim, yeah, Felge. It's in English or in American English, rim. And on that is parented then my modeled subdivision perfect tire, yeah. And if I animate then the collision margin from the rim, yeah. So in the moment that's the rim, and the rim have a collision margin, then I can define with a collision margin here the air pressure from the tires. So if in the end the complete car stand on that 4 cylinders on the ground, yeah, and are connected with the wheel master here, so that the other bullet construction from the car can see it, yeah, then I can attach it and then it's all fine. In the moment that setup works really nice, it's all not problem, you see it runs in real time, but I cannot animate over time the air pressure. So that's so a thing if somebody in the LightWave development team see it here, that's a really cool idea to make animatable the collision margin, yeah, and also the transform parameters. And the reason is you can then, for unseen objects, you build for yourself to make this or that. You can animate it, yeah, to create simple hacks like that, yeah. So in the moment you see it, I have to change the collision margin, then I can start new time the bullet. The bullet runs in real time and all that's fine. And also if I use 4 from that wheels, it works perfect, but I have only one air pressure for every animation, yeah. So I cannot change it on the fly with that setup. And now you can say, yeah, build another setup, but that's the thing. This setup here is the quickest way for efficient, and the simple reason is it calculate in real time, you know. So I search for solutions that you can bring that effect in real time, yeah, and have not to build another kind of setup. Another kind of setup, for example, is that you not parented the tire on the rim and works then with the rim collision margin. Another idea is to say, okay, let us use the tire subdivision bullet as master of disaster and parented the rim on that deformed object, yes, and then you build the air pressure over the deforming parameters from that object here with the type deforming, yeah. So with that parameters here, with linear stiffness, angular stiffness, damping coefficient, and so on, and with the weight. And that's much more complicated as my solution here now. So the best way is now to use here over the time the collision margin if you want to show that the air pressure on a wheel would be changed, yeah. For example, if you have to show that a tire lost his air pressure. So only for example, that's only for testing, yeah. So for a perfect car setup. So the next is I want to test it on my car. So I rebuild now the tires on that X4 BMW, you know, I showed the last time. And then I can change my other procedural setup to a bullet setup. That means in the other scene I showed days before, I have the raycast node under every wheel that tracks the underground, and on the raycast node is another null parented, and that other null is a nodal motion, and that nodal motion is for not another null. That raycast node is a nodal motion and tracks the underground, and on there is parented another null object, and that other null object is connected with via motion options with a procedural texture, and he change with a value procedural function the pressure, yeah, from the tires. But that's not so perfect. That's a hack, yeah, that principle with that procedural node and that value. And so I think for myself, okay, do it in bullet. So I can now do it in bullet, and I show the next time that I think the car, yeah, with real contact and the real solution only in bullet. So I see it works here, it's all fine. But yeah, you have to define before you then start the complete simulation the collision margin from the rim, so that you have one version of the air pressure, and that's not the perfect setup. So that's a good setup but not perfect, and the reason is if I want to change the air pressure over the time for a car to flatten or deflatten a tire, I needed animatable here, that collision margin, yeah. So everybody shows that the LightWave developer, I needed animatable. It's the same thing with a dirt node in Octane. Yeah, in the first version was there not the radius parameter animatable, and I can do things not with that first version, but later Juanjo built in that I can animate the radius parameter for the dirt node in Octane, and now I can use it in that way I need it. And here is it the same, yeah. So the thing is, if that parameter is you can animate it, or you can build a simple graph editor for that. Please do it, yeah. For me, do it for LightWave Guru. Then I can show in a car setup over the time, flatten and deflatten the tire simply with I animate the collision margin here, and then it's all fine, yeah. So then I will animate over the time that here, yeah. So I can show it, for example, the car begins to drive with a very hard air pressure tight, yeah, a tire, and then after I have a heavy load, for example, yeah, in kilogram or in tons on a car, then I can show that the car, or not the car, but the tires, then would be a little bit deflatten and is then in that stadium. Yeah, so that the wheel would go under pressure, and you can see it. Yeah. So, and that's all the tricks and or tips that you can show the users in LightWave. Yeah. So if I here, for example, show here nothing, you can see it that the wheel would be real deformed, yeah, in real time, easily in real time. And that's the reason that I want to build something like that, yeah, so that you have you can work in real time and have no stress, yeah, and you can understand your setup easily, so that you must be not a professor in every second of the day, yeah. So okay, sorry for my bad English. Anyway, so I have shown that setup. If anybody have a question, I can answer him if I understand what he mean. Later, bye.